Uh, Video game industry, please get some self-esteem. The Game Awards 2023 showed more than ever that the industry needs to have more self-respect and self-esteem. I think this picture sums it up pretty well. Yeah, dude, because I was really close to. I was really close to just like ordering one just in case, and yeah. Well, I mean, I probably need to have a backup one anyways, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I know, dude. I know. And I mean, I guess that's learning, you know? The thing is, like, I had never had it have an update where it broke my mic. That's the thing that was wild. I had updates where it broke certain functionalities with other things. Like especially my mouse and stuff like that. So if anything starts getting wonky with my mouse, usually I'll be like, oh crap, you know. And that's one of those like first things I'll go to and look at because I've had experience with that. But I never use it for any kind of microphone integration or anything like that. I've always got it like turned off and stuff. And whenever it updated, dude, it just kind of like turned everything on, started messing with stuff, and it was like, again, it was all my auto update stuff was turned off on the program. So it was just, I don't know how it decided to go ahead and just do that. But even looking online, everybody was like, yo, even if you think this program hasn't updated because you had auto update turned off, prepare yourself because they probably updated it anyways, you know. And sure enough, which is scary, that sucks, you know. We're all caught up on the Game Awards discourse, right? If not, here's what you need to know. The Game Awards were on Thursday, and as is their wont, they focused far more on trailers and celebrities than the actual winners. Somehow this year was worse than usual, with music and a giant "please wrap it up" sign flashing at legendary developers and Game of the Year winners, talking about treasured team members who died during development. It would have been disrespectful to do that to anybody, let alone Sam Lake, or for the love of God, Eiji Aonuma. But hey, at least movie stars got all the time they wanted. Whiz bang whoopee, for the love of God, the video game industry needs some self-esteem. By industry, I mean less the people making the games and more the people with the purse strings. Exactly. The ones who pick up the phone and tell the show's host and showrunner what they need and how much time they need it for. Don't get me wrong. I like that there are celebrities outside of games who enjoy video games, and leaning in on the fact that people like Timothée Chalamet had gaming YouTube channels is great. We should acknowledge that gaming isn't a sad second-rate hobby. It's a massive industry that appeals to a vast number of people, including the world's most aesthetically gifted human beings. And I do know that having the names of famous people on the sheet sells well to corporate executives who have no self-esteem because they rarely make anything of use themselves. So it's actually great. Yeah. Actually great that movie stars and musicians want to appear on the Game Awards, but this is a little kooky and a little nuts. Maybe we don't have to throw game industry veterans under the bus. I know I'm not the only person to say this right now, but the more the better. It is deeply stupid that some winners only got a few seconds to talk about their games and others got literally no time at all. They simply got listed off one after another with the same energy of someone relaying their order number to customer support. It was almost like the criticism of past years was not dismissive enough of workers. The Game Awards also outright ignored a petition from their 2023 future class regarding the conflict in Gaza. They're the future class of making money, not talking about issues. We want that shaving robot back. Where did he go this year? Again, I can understand. I mean, I'm actually, you know, I see both sides of the issue here of some people do want this kind of production to maybe highlight some of the world issues that are happening. Other people see it as too political. I can see both sides of it. I personally, it's not going to be a turnoff for me to have a bit of some, you know, empathy and concern and consideration shown on some of the larger world issues happening, you know, as a platform for the gaming industry. But I know why some people are a bit turned off by it, you know, because this is our entertainment that we use to kind of immerse ourselves in something different than the world issues that we're kind of slapped in the face with every day. But I would implore people to understand that, like, you know, if you were caught up in a dire, you know, large world issue, you would want as many people to be aware that it was happening as possible, and to understand that it was going on and how big of a deal it was as well, right? I think that's part of empathy and trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I understand why some people don't necessarily want it to be part of a production like this, political, and they consider it to be political and things of that nature. I understand that. But that's not the only thing that got missed here either. You know, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the gaming industry with layoffs and things like that. And that's one of those things that I am very adamant that should have been talked about in this awards show for sure. It's literally part of what's going on in this industry. So many people have lost their jobs amidst a year of absolute. This is a year we haven't seen anything like this in probably the last 20 years, of this kind of amazing plethora of games released this year. The industry is still year on end profitable, and we have just layoff after layoff after layoff after layoff, you know, and they didn't want to talk about that at all, didn't want to bring it up. And it didn't even need to be, I've talked about this previously, it didn't even need to be in a way where Jeff Keighley potentially was calling out any individual. You know, he didn't need to go, hey Embracer, you suck, or hey Epic, great job firing 800 people, or anything like that, right? Which he could have. It could have been more of a default, hey, you know, this has been a great year for gaming, but let's not forget about all these people that are currently without jobs that have helped to create these amazing, you know, this phenomenal year we've had. You know, shine a little bit of light on some of the issues that are plaguing the industry right now too. And there was none of that. And that's not good. It just really isn't for such a high profile production, which we had become accustomed to Jeff occasionally calling out some of the you know, more diabolical kind of sides of this industry, like the nasty stuff about Blizzard and everything in years past and things like that. To not shout that out at all, and just, you know, give some kind of heartfelt, you know, we're thinking about the people that are without the jobs that have helped create such an amazing year for us, something like that. There was nothing, and that sucks. And I think that's a big show of what this production is turning into, unfortunately. What about Hideo Kojima? The Game Awards always gives him plenty of time. Yes, specifically him. One Kojima shares the Game Awards obsession with ranking movie stars above the putrid wretches known as voice actors. If you remember, he fired English language Solid Snake voice actor David Hayter and replaced him with Kiefer Sutherland. His series, he can, or at least could, do what he wants with it. But Kojima spent decades ingratiating himself with Hollywood, and this time around, he literally announced a game-movie combination as if it were a new thing and not something developers like Sam Barlow have been doing for years. Kojima is a great developer. I think this project sounds interesting, but giving him all the time in the world to talk while disrespecting the actual award winners is not the solution that the show's producers might think it is. All this goes back to the fact the video gaming industry, especially AAA's, the Game Award supporting conglomerates, has no self-esteem. Despite taking in more money than the box office, the video game industry is desperate to be seen as just as good as movies, and hopefully better than TV. Game companies still use the word cinematic to describe their stories. They still explode with sensual delight whenever they can list a famous actor making a cameo, none of which would be a problem if it didn't all have a moist sweatiness of needing to be accepted. This industry often acts like a rich kid who's so insecure that they spend everything they have to keep their friends impressed. Do you like me? Am I good? Look at my dad's TV. Folks, I work in the entertainment industry. Let me tell you something. They are very eager for more video game IPs to be turned into shows and movies. Whether you care about that or not, the non-gaming portion of the entertainment industry is in. They're all set to go full speed with games. They know there's money in the banana stand. The old IP to games pipeline has reversed. I'll actually say this. I'm quite turned off by the whole let's make a video game as much like a movie as possible. I'm not a fan of that. I just talked about this yesterday or the day before. Personally, I don't want to watch a movie while I'm playing a game. If I wanted that, if I want to watch a movie, I'll go watch a movie. If I want to watch a TV show, I'll go watch a TV show. There's something to be said for good cinematics in a game. Don't get me wrong. It's very good for, like, you know, helping to tell a story. It's very good for immersion. But, dude, I don't want to be in a game like Final Fantasy 16 and half of the gameplay, 17 hours of cinematics? No, thank you. That's half the gameplay. Half the gameplay is cinematics. It's movie. I don't want that. I don't need that. Same thing as, like, I'm sorry, but, like, I've been pretty psyched about something like Hellblade 2 for a while because it looks pretty phenomenal. But the more I'm seeing coming out of that game about, like, the trailers, and they keep calling it gameplay and stuff, I've got an article that's going to be hitting YouTube here pretty quick where I go through the previous trailers of Hellblade. And I'm sorry, but most of that game is coming off to me as you sit there with a controller in your hand and maybe move some joysticks every once in a while, hit a button every once in a while, but most of what you're getting is a visual experience. Loop Hero is mostly cinematics. Yeah. You know, I think that there is this, like, trend. I don't think they're wrong here about there are an amount of developers that are going, let's just change games into a mostly visual experience where you're not really doing much, you know? And I'm not a fan of that. I play games to play games. I want to be in control. I want to be doing the controlling of what's happening in the experience. That's what a video game is about. It's literally, you know, like, maybe not Webster's dictionary's definition, but it's my definition of what a video game is. Immersing myself in an experience by controlling what's happening, not sitting there with a controller in my hand and not being able to do anything and just watching what goes on around me, you know? So I have noticed a change in a way. A lot of that is kind of happening. I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah, and that's okay. Like I said, I mean, if there's going to be, I think BG3 is that the way that's done is fine. You come across occasions quite often where it'll go into a cinematic storyline encounter where it's all about, you know, you're engaging with situations where you're not just watching, you're still making choices and everything. You're still in control, as opposed to it just being like, all right, let's watch another hour of cinematics. You know what I mean? Which I haven't played Final Fantasy 16, but I can only assume that if that game takes 20 hours of gameplay to beat and 17 hours of it is cinematics, you know, you're not sitting there going through choices matter dialogue or anything. You know, you're just watching movie. which is not what I want. It's different if you're VG3's got a different kind of situation going on where the cinematic parts of it are good for immersion. You're still controlling things because you're going through dialogue where you're making choices and you're getting, role checks off and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? There's a difference there. You're engaged, you're controlling things, you're making choices. So BG3 Larian, I'm cool with what they did there. It still feels engaging. I'm doing things, as opposed to some of these other ones where it's just nothing but watching. If I want to watch a movie, I'll go watch a movie, The Last of Us was a massive hit for HBO. Amazon knew they'd got something cooking with Fallout. Knows they've got something cooking with Fallout. The Super Mario Brothers movie would have made me wet myself as a kid. The people making movies and shows now are fans who grew up with these properties. Almost gone are the days of executives hearing about a successful IP and throwing it to a hapless screenwriter and director who have to catch up. That's all to say the video game industry can stop acting like it's a votarist for Hollywood. In fact, maybe it's even healthy to acknowledge that many of these developers are owned by companies that also make traditional shows, movies, albums, and whatnot, and so forth. And let me say something. I even said this, as far as the Game Awards go, and the game industry goes as a whole, we've been integrating, the other sides of entertainment into the gaming industry for a long time. Video games are a culmination of many different art forms, right? And definitely, acting, voice acting, all that stuff, that's been a part of it for a long time. I think that, where you're going to get much more acceptance for something like the Game Awards is like bringing people in to be part of the Game Awards as an actor, somebody who is first and foremost known as an actor who has also done things for the gaming industry. Keanu Reeves was part of Cyberpunk. You get Norman Reedus in as somebody who had been part of Kojima's productions before. If you want to have somebody that's going to be a presenter or whatever, cool, man. But when you start talking about the fact that you've got, people like Al Pacino showing up, and I love Al Pacino, dude, in my movies, but I don't expect to see him at the Game Awards, Yeah, it's fine, bro. We're gonna play pretty soon. I think that's one of those things where that's the way I feel myself. And I think a lot of other people are going to be more accepting of the fact and understanding of the fact that we absolutely have amazing actors that have become part of our entertainment in this industry. And we expect to see them to an extent, in some of these productions and shows and everything. But when you're talking about just throwing in famous people for the sake of them being famous people, and they have nothing to do with this industry that we love, that's weird and off-putting. How many times do people have to say this? Grand Theft Auto 6's trailer broke records. It's not because it was introduced by an AI reconstruction of Jimmy Stewart, although I wish that were true and do acknowledge it would undermine my entire argument. GTA's trailer was successful because people like that game and want to see that game, and I would venture also think somewhat highly of the developers who make it. I actually hate Rockstar right now, but that's just me. There was no bridge. Game developers aren't Morlocks who secretly make content for the mysterious ethereal alloy. It wasn't cute when the gaming industry desperately begged any and all on-screen personalities to cold read a teleprompter at E3. It's not cute now when the industry has matured to a point where it's already overtaking other forms of art. Having celebrities cherish great games is great. The more people who talk about this beautiful medium, the better. Having big names work on and act in games is fine, but when they're there, they're also working with developers, not replacing and superseding their importance. The game industry needs to learn this. Being disrespectful to your own people is not going to improve business practices. Ignoring layoffs isn't going to result in higher quality products. Thank you. And treating your own award recipients like a-holes for wanting to talk about a project that took 6 years is deeply, deeply weird. Agreed. It's a good article. It's Mike Drucker, dude. I was wondering if it was Mike Drucker. Oh, bro, dude, Mike Drucker wrote one of the best articles that I have ever read on The Gamer, and it is actually a parody of everything you always read about these companies laying off people, instead of getting clarity behind why it's happening or if they did anything to circumvent, having to result in that. We love our employees, and it's so good, dude. I've got an article about it on our YouTube page, and I was wondering, dude, this was written so very well. I was wondering if it was Mike Drucker, dude. Mike, you did it again. God dang it. So good, dude. Mike Drucker. Great stuff here, man. Love this. And this is a fantastic article, dude. Obviously, it got me riled up. It's got a lot of the same sentiments that I feel. And I've been talking about since before the Game Awards even started. I knew what to expect from the Game Awards, really. And, wasn't surprised, but was still disappointed,